And I think we're recording now, so it's our week 6 Wednesday morning session. I did actually have a bit of a PowerPoint set up for this, but my other computer is running updates, so we'll just do it a little bit more improvised. So during this week, and let me just share my screen for the announcements. During this week, what we're doing, we're really covering our first tests. And I realize that it can be sometimes a little nerve-wracking when you're getting to know the instructor and what kind of their style is and what types of exams to anticipate. But I promise that very much like it's been throughout this course, I'm not here to catch you out. I really do want you to succeed. So there's no curveballs, nothing tricky in terms of the exams. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to give a little bit of a run through what to expect, what to anticipate, and then we can have a look of a couple of questions just to get a kind of a flavor of what to anticipate. But I want to make time and space for any questions as well. So if anything comes up even during the talk, don't hesitate to just let me know and we'll take it from there. It's super important for me that these sessions are really for you to get what you want out of those. So I don't want to hijack them and tell my stories. I do have a general idea what students are typically concerned or curious about, but I don't pretend that I always have all the knowledge of that. So feel free to just jump in if you get questions. So what I have lined up for this week, and I'm actually going to jump to the learning modules and this week's module. What I have lined up for this week is really just 2 assignments for us to do. And those 2 assignments are going to be our first tests. So there's going to be 3 weeks when we're going to do tests on this course. And once you've covered the material on a test, it covers the previous chapters that we've covered just before that, you will not see those chapters again. So I don't do a cumulative final exam. It literally is that we do a section, we cover it, and then we move onwards. This first test or set of tests include 3 chapters each. So the chapter 1, where we looked at kind of general introduction to anatomy and physiology, chapter 6, which was integumentary system, and chapter 7, which was about cartilages and just kind of a general introduction to bone tissues. You'll notice that we're missing quite a few chapters from that set of chapters that we've covered. So anything from chapter 2 to chapter 5. We are not testing you on. And the reason why we're not testing you on those is that these chapters were just revision of materials that you've really covered already earlier on in your prerequisite courses for this. And for that reason, I think that it is not necessary for us to test you again on those. You've learned them in other courses and you've been tested on those other courses. Those chapters were just to make sure that we all are kind of in a same place as we start working our way through the material system by system. So that hopefully helps to set your mind at ease. So what to expect with the exam and practicals? Let's have a look of that a little bit together. So since this is an online course, all of my exams are going to be actually non-proctored. So you can take them at home or wherever you wish to take them at any time that you wish. Only requirement that I have is that you should take them by the end of this week. So Sunday is the first day of October. So 1 minute before the midnight, both of these tests close. And both of these tests are taken on Canvas. So rather than what you normally do for your homework, where you go to our publisher's platform through clicking through a link, this time you're actually gonna click a link and still stay in Canvas. Like I said, both tests are open book. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that most of my students have to rely on their notes. Most of my students literally just take the test, get it done, and move on with their life. But I want to leave the option out there in case anyone feels uncertain about something, then you can go back to your notes, you can double check, and then answer to that question. Having said that, though, there is a time limit on both of the tests. And the time limit really is more of just to make sure that you're not going to end up taking 4 days to take a test. So you've never opened a textbook, you've never done a single assignment, that wouldn't really serve a purpose. But the time limit is generous enough that you really will not run out of time. Most of the time, what my students end up finding is that they have more than ample amount of time to complete the test, and even if they need to go back to check some points. But I would say that you might not be successful if you're planning to check every single question and start reading the material relating to every single question for the very first time in your life. So I hope that that helps you to kind of feel more at ease what to expect. There is no lockdown browser. I do not need you to have a video camera filming you as you take the test. It really is like any other assignment that you're taking. What's important for me is that you know what you know and you know where to find the answers when you don't know something. Uh, Having said that, both of these tests are taken as a single setting test. So once you start the test, there will be a timer that runs on the corner, but the timer is not there to stress you out. I promise that if you have done your homework throughout the course so far, you will not run out of time. The timer is there simply to make sure that you're not going to start, do something, then leave, come back. So once you start the test, that's when the test starts for you, and you should finish it in a same sitting. I do want to be totally transparent that I realize that technology is not 100% safe always. Sometimes we have reasons, like I have this morning that my computer crashes and it's running updates and all that sort of stuff on the background. So if that happens, let me know, because I can then reset your test. However, that's the reason why I encourage you not to leave it till the very last day to take the test, or at least till the evening of the very last day. Because I am going to be honest, I'm going to go to bed on Sunday night and I'm not going to stay up till midnight waiting if someone's still taking a test and if they have technology problems and so on. So I would really strongly encourage you to make a start of that test so that you still have a little bit of time in case there's any technical issues that I can help you. All you have to do is drop me a message through the Canvas inbox and I will work with you. I'm thinking what else is general that I should say about the tests. Nothing stands out to me immediately. Students are often concerned or often curious that what am I exactly gonna ask? And I want to break it down here on the next part. So for the exam one, we had the chapters 1, 6, and 7. And the exam is going to consist of 11 questions. You will have 30 minutes to complete these 11 questions. So I would say that normally it takes a student less than a minute per question. Some questions might have subparts, but it really is fairly straightforward. If you have completed your homework quizzes on the course so far, you can anticipate that the questions are very similar to those. They might not be worded exactly the same, but they're very similar to those. Once you completed these 11 questions, that with the grade for the exam in total, the maximum points is going to be 50 points. There's various different kinds of questions that I might ask. A lot of them are verbal questions. So I've written something and then you have to choose the correct answer to what I've written, whether it's a drop-down menu, whether it's a true-false statement, multiple choice question. And sometimes in multiple choice questions, I have one correct answer or one answer that's the best potential answer, or sometimes there's multiple correct answers and I'm asking you to choose all of the correct answers. Each question will specify which type of a, answer I'm looking for. But that's what you can anticipate to come up when it comes to the exams. And just to make our life a little easier, I did have some examples on the presentation that I had prepared for us for today to show what to anticipate. But since that's not running, what I'm going to do instead, I stopped sharing the screen and I will come back to share it in just a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm going to pull up the exam to give you an idea what to anticipate, what could come up in the exam, so you have a flavor or have an idea of what to expect there. So let's have a look of what an exam could look like. And let me just share my screen with you. And at this point, you should be able to see my screen. So when you take the exam, it takes you onto a screen where it tells you what to do, what to anticipate, and then you can take it. We're going to take a preview version just because I want to show you what to anticipate. There will be, like I said, a little time limit that you will see present there. And for example, one question type that could come up is where you're completing sentences by choosing the correct option. And here we're playing around with the concept. Are we talking about anatomy or physiology? So the first statement says that the study of the form is, and then you have to choose, is it anatomy or is it physiology? Well, we remember that anatomy was all about structures. So that would go correctly there. Then we have an example statement that brain is composed of two hemispheres. And now we have to choose, is this more of an anatomical description or is this more of a physiological description that what you would anticipate in terms of what the sentence is telling you? And since we're talking about what a structure is made of, that's very much of more of an anatomical question. Then we have a statement about skeletal muscles. I know that we haven't yet talked about skeletal muscles, but it's a good example of a statement that would tell us that it's either a very anatomical statement or physiological statement. So the statement says that skeletal muscles contract by a process called sliding filament theory. And we'll get to talk a lot more about sliding filament theory, but basically skeletal muscles are made of these, on a microscopy level, of these filaments that either slide past each other or away from each other, and as such the muscle is either getting longer or shorter. So that's what we're seeing there. And this kind of a description would be very much a description of the physiology of the body. Moving onwards, another type of an example that could come up, cellular energy requires the body's production of ATP. So we're again talking about how things work, in this case on a cell level. So that's very much of a physiological statement. And the second last statement that we have there as an example is that the human heart is composed of 4 chambers. Well, that's again an anatomical description of the structure of the heart. And finally, we have a statement that study of function is physiology. So we see that there's a lot of this kind of a chance for you to apply topics that have been covered. So that should give you an idea. I'm going to show one more question. I'm not going to go through all of them in the interest of time, but also in the interest of not ruining the exam completely for everyone. But here's another type of a question, which is a true-false statement. And the statement says that the negative feedback negates or reverses a trend. So you remember in homeostasis, which was really all about maintaining consistent internal environment in the body, we had that homeostatic loop mechanism that we had a look of, where we had 4 steps. We had the some kind of a thing that was changing. So the stimulus that was detected by receptors or sensors, that information was passed to the control center where it was compared against your set point, typically control center being your brain. And if necessary, an effector was recruited. The effectors could be various different kinds. An effector's role in negative feedback is to prevent that change from happening. So it's kind of this loop that stops the change from happening if we're talking about negative feedback. There were only 3 cases of positive feedback that we see in life in humans. So negative feedback is much more common. We saw positive feedback during childbirth, lactation, and blood clotting or scab formation. So all of that tells us that this statement that we're seeing here would be true. So the questions are as such what you can expect. Here, this is the last one that I'll show. We have a sentence and we're missing certain parts of the sentence, and you're choosing the most correct option. So most anatomical terms can be traced back to what and what language is. And then you would choose which of the options would seem most correct. We see that there's a lot of Greek terminology, there's a lot of Latin terminology. So that should give you an idea in terms of what to expect when it comes to the exam, what kind of format it is. Those questions, I would assume, seemed very familiar from your homework assignments, what you've covered as the chapter quizzes. So very, very verbal. It is always possible that I mix up things just for the sake of it, but very much typically they are written questions where you choose the answers. And like I said, there's multiple different formats of how you might answer to these questions. So, like I said, plenty of time to answer, not too long of an exam. Make sure, though, that you complete it on one go. In terms of the practical one is really much more about since we are not meeting in person. Normally, if we would meet in person, we would actually end up looking at different kinds of models, different kind of pictures, and understanding the human body through that. But in this case, what we're gonna do, you've done the practical preparation activities as your homework, as those practice anatomy homework assignments that I assign for every week. So practical one covers the same chapters 1, 6, and 7. There's going to be 13 questions and you have 30 minutes to complete those. In total, those 13 questions will be worth of 25 points. These questions are typically just me showing you a picture and then asking you to identify what structure am I pointing out from the picture. Typically, we are providing you a multiple choice answer list that you choose the most correct answer of the list that I provide you. So I don't think that I have anything super exciting in terms of that would blow your mind when it comes to what to expect with the practical, but I'm going to show again a couple of examples just so you have an idea of what to expect for the practical. So let me share my screen with you. So let's preview the practical one a little bit, what we could see there, for example. So here we're being shown a diagram of this lady, and we're seeing 3 different body planes, and we're being asked that which one is this body plane that in this patient divides the person into the front and back side, so anterior and posterior side of the body. So then you would go and choose the option that best answers to that structure that I've highlighted with an arrow there. Similarly, there would be other kinds of questions. Here I'm asking body regions. What is the region that we're seeing here? And I'm giving you a few different options, and we're going to choose what is the most accurate term to describe that body region. Moving onwards, that would continue with other kinds of questions that are very similar, and you would answer to those as well. So I think that that gives us a rather good idea of what to expect when it comes to the questions in the practical and in the practical exam. So I hope that that helps. I'm just gonna jump back to the announcements, since I want to make sure that I cover all of the bases of all of the things that I needed to make sure that I'm sharing with you, not only as an announcement, but also during these review sessions. Like I said, I realize that sometimes things happen. If you have any technical issues, I encourage you to contact me as soon as possible, and I will then work with you to figure out what's going on. And here comes probably the most important thing, and I realize that this doesn't apply to everyone, but I want to speak about it to everyone. So sometimes we have students who have disabilities, and this college, as long as you have a documented disability, we will work with you to create you an accommodation plan. The accommodation plan is not cheating, it's not us giving you an unfair advantage. It's simply a matter of leveling the playing field so you have an equal access to succeed in your course. So I will never find out what the reason for you receiving an accommodation plan is. The process is that you contact our Disability Resources and Services Office, and I provided you a link, and actually they are a really, really responsive office in our college. You can talk with them either through phone, you can contact them through email, or you can go and see them in person. And we have in-person locations on our both campuses at the Pecos and Williams. You will go and talk with them. You will provide them any documentation that they will need. And then they will figure out, in collaboration with you, in collaboration with experts if necessary, that what it is that we need to do to make sure that you have an equal chance of succeeding in our classes despite your disability if you have one. I will never find out what your disability is. I will simply receive an accommodation plan for you in an electronic format, and then I will make the adjustments that are related to that accommodation plan that has been granted for you. A lot of the times these accommodations might be, for example, having a little longer to complete assignments. It might be in case we need to have a let's say translator present if there's issues that would impact that. It could be that we give you a chance to take the test in another setting, but since this is a non-proctored setting, you can choose where you want to take the test. Things like that. And if I have received an accommodation plan from you for you, I will have made those changes and I will have reached out to you. Typically, I do it both through an email and a message here on the canvas, letting me know or letting you know just that I've received this and I've implemented those changes. If you have not heard back from me, that means that I have not received an accommodation plan from you. And if this is the case and you still have an accommodation plan in place, this would be the time to contact me, because I will always confirm that I've made those changes. I want to make sure that we are all in agreement and remember that not all disabilities are visual or visible for others. So it doesn't have to be a disability that is, for example, restricting your ability to type answers. They can be also disabilities such as dyslexia. I think I used myself as an example at the beginning of the course, sharing how I didn't realize that I had dyslexia and I had really hard time in spelling exams. Now, on hindsight, I probably could have made my life a little bit easier had I actually shared that with someone and had we worked on that. So we just simply don't want you to struggle unreasonably because of a disability. And that really brings me to the end of everything that I was wanting to share. Like I said, this week is not super heavy since you're only doing basically two pieces of assignments that I need you to do. We're doing the exam and we're doing the practical. And that's all you have to do, and you have the whole week to do those. Obviously, I encourage you to not leave it to the very last minute. Some of you have been asking about midterm feedback. I had the module for that open earlier on, and it has a due date. Do not worry about that yet. I will share about midterm feedback once we get to actually to the midpoint of the semester. I have to do some adjustments there, but I'm always curious to hear your feedback. But hold on that. I will provide you details what to expect when it comes to that. That really brings us to the end of everything I wanted to share. I want to make space to answer any questions that you may have. So whether you have a question and you're present in this session, so just feel free to unmute yourself and let me know, or drop it to the chat. Or if you want to ask the question and not have to record it, you can just let me know and I will post the recording for that while. If you are watching this recording later on from the afterwards as a review of what we discussed, you can totally drop me a message on the canvas through the messages, and I will answer to you there, and we'll figure out any answers that you might have. Typically, if I receive questions that are very similar from multiple people, I will make an announcement of that as well. So I hear on the chat that there are no questions. I so appreciate that you joined me today. I know that your schedules are busy, they're hectic. I hope that this gave you a little bit of a calmer feeling of what to expect. Like I said, if you've done your homeworks, you're gonna ace this. I'm not here to catch you out. There's no trick questions. Collect those points. Really, the secret on these online classes is just to consistently keep collecting those points towards the final grade. I really appreciate your company today, and I hope you have a very good rest of the week. Thank you again, and I'm glad to hear that you don't feel nervous about the exam anymore.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a good week.
Awesome. Have a good week and let me know if I can help with anything. Thank you. Bye.
Great. Bye.
And that's going to conclude our recording as well. So, as always, I am here for you, even if it is not in a live synchronous setting. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. That is a big and important part of my job. I really do enjoy when I hear from students. But a lot of the time, I do know that we're all so busy. So, if I don't hear anything from you, I assume that things are going well. Sometimes no news is a good news. I'm going to stop the recording here, and I'm going to wish you a very good rest of the week. Thank you. I'll see you next week. Bye.